Welcome everyone to the January Hangout, and I'm going to give you 3 guesses as to what the theme of this Hangout is tonight. You might be pondering, any ideas, anyone, what this Hangout is about tonight? You can take a guess if you want to write in the chat and let me know what you think I might be covering tonight. What do you think, guys? Bit of a mystery, isn't it? Anyone out there? No? No one can guess? Oh, what's this? It's my Vishy t-shirt. Unbelievable. There we go. Yeah, as George Khan says, I'm going to be covering white t-shirts tonight. Do you know what, folks? I've had this t-shirt for about 20 years and never found the opportunity to wear it. So I think tonight is a good opportunity to wear it. As I've already mentioned, this is a celebration of Vishy's victory in the World Rapids in Saudi Arabia. And yeah, it was a splendid achievement. So there we are. Tim Wall says after tonight he can go back in the closet. Absolutely, after tonight he gets chucked out. I'm telling you. Yeah. Hi, John in Dublin. Hi, Tim. And One Love says Brentford FC are 11th in the table in the Championship, treading water. No. That's their best position that they've had for months, because they started off really badly. Over the Christmas period, they won 3 out of 4. So no, they're not treading water at all. They're doing really well. However, we're coming into the dodgy January transfer window, so a little bit worried about that. Always very unsettling for the team. Omkar Chakradeo says he got a chance to meet Vishy at Mumbai airport 3 days ago. Happy moment. Well, fantastic, Omkar. Riaz Ali says your bookcase is still leaning precariously to the right. Yes, it is. No change there, unfortunately. And it's getting way down with even more books. You can probably see the books are stacking up on the floor. So that's a pity. So hi, everyone, wherever you are around the world. Good to see you. Okay, listen. I'm going to look at Vishy's games from the World Rapid, and what an incredible achievement it was. I'll talk a little bit more about his record in big rapid play tournaments in a second, but let's kick off with some chess. So let's get to the right spot. Let's get to the right games. I hope I haven't clicked off anything disastrous. Let me just open the window here. And I'm going to go through all of his games, some more rapidly than others. Let me see. Sorry, I'm just clicking on Windows and trying to read your comments at the same time. So I can tell you, yeah, it's a tough task. Anyway, here we go. So let me show you the first game. And if I've got to hit the right buttons here. If I don't, the whole thing just collapses, and we've had that before. One Love says about Brentford FC. Yeah, don't know if we're ready for the playoffs. I don't know if we'll get to the playoffs, but the fact that Brentford aren't actually in a relegation battle is, for me, that's a big bonus. No, it's not working at the moment. Just a moment, folks. Wait a second. Here we go. I think I might have got it to work. Ipu Disciple says, dumb question, what's on his shirt? Look, it's Vishy. It's Vishy time. There we are. He's even smiling for us. Tim says, try not to get distracted by the footy, Danny. We're here for the chess. Listen, it's Brentford. You got to love Brentford. Great team. Okay, here we go. Now, can everyone see what's going on here? Have I messed up? I might have messed up already. How's that? Ah, it might actually be working. Okay, here we go. So this was his game against Akobian, Varjan Akobian from America in the first round. So Vishy got off to a flying start. Vishy with black. Now, it's a typical Vishy position. I think what characterizes Anand's play is that somehow he manages to achieve very harmonious positions. What did Vishy play here? I'll leave it over to you. Riaz, it's black's move, and Vishy is black. So it's not King F2. One Love says, I rate Vishy one of the greatest players of all time. It's credit to India and chess. Vishy is a truly great player, says One Love. I would agree with that. Yeah. And of course, you know, he's a 5-time world champion. He won the FIDE knockout in 2001. He won the tournament, the reunification tournament in Mexico in 2007. He defeated Kramnik in 2008. He defeated Toppy in 2010, Gelfand in 2012. I mean, this is in classical chess. That's an incredible record. But he's probably more successful in rapid chess. That's the amazing thing. And we'll talk about that in a second. So we've got various suggestions. We've got G5 with the idea G4. That's a bit outlandish, if you don't mind me saying so. Oh, you can probably see the notation. So I've messed up already. Yeah, that's not very good, is it? Never mind. Oh, well, listen, I'll just go through the moves. Heck. This is the game. And C4 was played. I mean, you could just drop the bishop back here. I think this is a pretty good move, to be honest. Because it's difficult for white to play king f2 because of rook d2. So yes, you can probably see from the notation I messed up, of course. Oh, we could always do this, but let's do that. So bishop e6, I think, is a very simple move, but Vishy, I tell you what, Vishy likes clarity. That's one thing that is very evident from his games. He likes to resolve positions, to make the tasks ahead of him simpler. So let's see, after c4, this was taken and bishop takes. So what he's doing by playing this is, well, he's going to simplify, try to simplify down into a rook and pawn endgame. So obviously bishop takes bishop can be met by rook check, and we take the rook in the corner. So the game went castles. And now, well, classic play, you rook d3. And hitting the pawn on a3. Whoops. Hitting the pawn on a3. So it's a good move. One Love says, Vishy style reminds me of Smyslov. In many ways, I would agree with that. Yeah, very classical, very pragmatic. Rook a1, but now this gives an opportunity to come down with check. And voila, a pawn is in the bag. Now, this isn't so simple because, of course, white has some counterplay here. Nevertheless, now, Vishy could have just pushed that pawn with a5. But he's a cautious man. and he didn't want to have his rook stuck in front of the pawns, so he moves to the side. It also, in playing rooks, I mean, I think the thing is with this kind of endgame, you need to calculate, and in rapid chess, you don't really have the time to calculate. This is the problem. So you have to go on intuition. And a move like a5, as I said, you don't really want your rook stuck in front of the pawns, and you never know. At some moment, this rook could cut the king, and something like this could happen. So I understand why he played rook c3. King c8, excellent move. So basically, if white continues pushing, then the king will come across, and very simple, that just gets blockaded. And then, well, you can round it up in this case, or start pushing the pawns on the queen side. So this position, rook d2, okay, Jacobian wants to cut the king and prevent it from moving across, but no problem. I mean, I guess in this position, f5, now how do we meet that? Probably rook c5, actually. Should kill that one off. If this one, we take, and I think rook e5. Looks good to me. So the game went rook d5, and now the end came very suddenly, as basically black is just gaining tempi. Harris Nabil says, I think Anand suffered a lot in endgames in 2013. Yeah, he was playing Magnus and he got caught in bad positions somehow. But when he's pressing, then he's very good, Vishy. Yeah, not as good at defending. Okay, let's come back again. There we are. For those arriving late, it's Vishy time. There we go. I've got my Vishy t-shirt. I've had this for years. Never found an opportunity to wear it, but it's Vishy time. Ricardo 2 says, hello from Mexico. Nice to see you, Ricardo. Right, next game. So that was game one. Let's just get rid of that. And just bear with me while I switch windows and find the right board. Hi, Paul in Paris. Nice to hear from you again. So this one is round two. Just bear with me, folks, while I switch the window. If I can find the right thing, and here we go. Now, should appear, there it is. Let's hit training again. Okay, I'm going to zip through these first moves very quickly. It's piano, and it's the opening of the moment. But okay, it suits Vishy, nice and steady, very classical. I'm going to reach the critical moment in the game. Okay, this is interesting because Leko decides to exchange on d4. You don't have to, but he's nicknamed. I'm reading comments and trying to talk at the same time. He's advanced in the center with d5, so that gives black something to bite on. So c5. And now, yeah, Vishy, again, he plays really pragmatically. And I think, well, can anyone guess what Vishy's next move is in this position? This is very interesting. Because I imagine this would have come as a big surprise to Leko, actually. I mean, when I was flicking through these games, I haven't analyzed these very deeply, but I kind of did a double take at this next move, to be honest. I was quite surprised. Yeah, everyone wants to play h4. Well, after h4, let's just examine this. To me, this doesn't look quite right because this gives away a really important square. Unless there's some kind of tactic, or if I fall into a tactic, maybe I have. Here, and bishop h7. Ah, it's tricky. It's very tricky. And here, oh, maybe I haven't fallen into a tactic because I take here, and black ends up a piece up. So bishop g4 is actually possible. So I don't like h4 at all. That gives away a square. So going back, no, not that one. If you know the game, then don't bother writing in. Got a suggestion of taking on c5 and yeah, but I think the problem is it's not so easy to play against this pawn. Guest informant says bishop takes knight. Okay, you know the game, do you? Question is which knight? Manoj Krishna says bishop takes knight on f4, but then what does that do next? What does white do next? Not so clear. A suggestion of knight f5. Now, knight f5 appeals to me, I have to say. I dare say that's a pretty good move. I mean, maybe black would just... I think it's necessary to stop knight d6. So take this off. And then, let me see, take on d4. Feels to me as though black has sufficient counterplay here, I have to say. You know, something like this could be met by queen g5. Feels like it should be okay for black. Unless I'm badly mistaken. Guest informed says bishop takes knight was 2 guesses in one. You said it was a surprise. All points to bishop takes knight. Yes, the question is which one. In fact, it was this bishop. Bishop on c2 takes knight. Now, normally in this kind of position, the bishop on c2 is your pride and joy. It's the bishop that can suddenly deliver some kind of terrible threats, terrible attack on h7. So to give it up like this is, for me, a big surprise. I mean, in fact, again, this comes down to Vishy's style. He loves clarity. So after bishop g5, black suddenly has a few problems to deal with. Now, Leko made a mistake here. He should play queen b6. But it's not the prettiest move, queen b6. It does look a bit ugly. Before I go any further, I will just take one question. Mohammed M says, I've been waiting ages for the next Power Play DVD. Where's it going to come up? I hope it will be on the middle game. Well, Mohammed, I recorded my Power Play DVD in October, and it should be ready to go. But ChessBase are just finding a suitable moment to release it, so you'll have to wait a little bit longer. The title of the DVD is, well, it's going to be on checkmates. It's going to be lots of exercises featuring checkmates. Guest informed says Vishy likes knights, doesn't he? He does indeed, yeah. But I mean, maybe Leko didn't like something like this, bishop e3, and it feels positionally not very pleasant for black, this position, because black is left, well, you know, white is beautifully centralized here. Black is left with this bishop, which hits the pawn in the middle. You know, Lecco has strong positional sensibilities, so I can imagine he wasn't too keen on that, which is why he played knight e7. But this was a poor move because suddenly White has a tremendous attack on the king side. Mohammed M, that's great news. Glad you like the Power Play series. H6. Now, bishop f6. Here we go. This was great. And this is awful, because if this, then the queen comes in and suddenly, well, threatening here, also threatening here. Now it gets worse and worse. After king h7, anyone like to suggest a move for white? White play. What did Vishy do now? Suggestions, please. It's all gone very quiet. I wonder what the delay is, actually. I don't think it's very long. Knight g5, says Balkan Gamer. Knight h5. Yeah, everyone wants to throw the knights in. Bishop g7. Yeah, bishop g7 also very interesting. I dare say there's more than one good move here. If bishop g7, let's have a look at this. And then a check. And then, how does white make progress? If I just come up the board, I know this looks very dodgy. Ooh, this could be absolutely disastrous. I'm going to keep going with this. This is fun. Is there a killer move here? G4 check. Now, if that's taken, that's checkmate. I'm having fun here, folks. Just let me go on. So that has to be taken. Takes. No, I better take this one. But somehow it feels as though black is on the edge of a precipice here. I don't quite trust this. But how are we going to do it? King h2 maybe? That could be a move. Yeah, I think king g6 was a mistake. So let me come here. It looks incredibly dangerous. Yeah, I think this is probably good. Check. And king back. Still not completely over. Probably good somehow. But it's not finished. I'm looking for a kill, but it's not quite there. No, he didn't take on g7. As probably some of you saw, he actually played knight g5 check. So the idea being that if that's taken, we take here, and the king is getting done over, I'm afraid. This and this. Threatening a mate here, and of course if rook g8, then we've seen that one before. Mate. So after this, Lecco had to come back, but now the pieces just flooded in, Vishy in his element here. And that's another beautiful move. And basically black has gone. Let's just see how he did it. No, it's awful. It's simple stuff. At the moment, white is 2 pieces down, but he does have lots of pawns. Well, after this, 3 minor pieces with a queen, but obviously white is winning this position. Let's just see this. What about bishop here? Okay, what's the... What's the simplest way to kill? I'll hand it over to you. White to play. I can see lots of good moves, actually. Who can find the kill here? Clean kill. Anyone like to hazard a guess? Queen h8 suggested. Yeah, and then what? I think it's a good move. You could play knight e6 afterwards, but then takes... It might be winning. It's probably winning. It's not certain yet. I think there might be something better here. Give knight g6 check. And here, knight e5 or queen h5, still not over. I'm not sure. So bishop f7, how are we going to do this? g4 has been suggested. It looks a bit crude to me, because then I just take here. Yeah, I'm not sure that's over either. I think the best, I don't know, why can't I just play queen takes knight? It looks quite strong to me. I think that might be the simplest way to do it. And then just come down here. I can't see black surviving this one. Ah, right. I can see other suggestions have been made. Okay, let's move on. As I said, in the game, queen f6 was played and, well, Vishy won very easily. Okay, we're back again. For those joining us, tonight is Vishy night, celebrating his victory in the Rapid World Championships in Saudi Arabia. An incredible performance. Let me just, before we go any further, let me just remind you of Vishy's Rapid record. So just going way back, some of you will remember the Intel PCA Grand Prix tournaments in 94, 95, and Vishy won the very first one in 94 in Moscow, defeating Kasparov in the final. And, you know, that was a big deal then. You know, Kasparov was supreme. So Vishy defeating him there. Then, you know, that he made his mark. And later on in the tournaments in Frankfurt and Mainz, organized by the Frankfurt Chess Tigers, Anand was incredibly successful. He won and these were kind of unofficial World Rapid Championships. He won in 97, 98. Then he had an incredible run of victories in 2000, between 2000 and 2008. In those times, he defeated basically all the leading players in the world: Karpov, Kramnik, Kasparov, Grishuk, Aronin. In 2008, he even defeated Carlsen. And by 2008, Carlsen was already fantastically strong. So, you know, Vishy is a real rapid expert. He also won the 2002 Euratel World Chess Trophy, which featured 14 out of the 15 highest rated players in the world, defeated Karpov in the final. And in 2003, he won the Kapdag Rapid event, which FIDE endorsed as a world champion. So basically, a lot of these events were kind of unofficial world championships. Nevertheless, I think in the years between the mid 90s and the end of the 2000s, about a 15-year period, Vishy was reigned supreme in rapid chess. No other leading player had a record like Vishy in rapid chess. Let me see. Got some questions here. A guest informant says, when Vishy started, he was famous for playing very quickly. Yeah, that's true. Often beat GMs using little time. That was the story anyway. Well, no, it's not just the story. That is fact. I mean, you know, I played tournaments with Vishy, and I remember very, very clearly how quickly he played. I mean, there's one, we played a tournament together in the Soviet Union in, well, it's now called Bishkek. It was called Frunze then in Soviet times. So it was one of these Soviet all-play-all tournaments. And Vishy, I think the time control was 40 moves in 2.5 hours. And Vishy was playing Kuzmin, who a very respected Soviet master. And Vishy beat him with 15, he'd only used 15 minutes on the clock. And Kuzmin kind of resigned and lost on time on move 40, kind of all at the same time. And Vishy had used 15 minutes only. So that is my memory of those days. He really did move incredibly quickly. Sashly247, delighted to hear you've joined up on patreon.com Powerplay Chess. That's brilliant. Okay, let me move to another game. So just bear with me while I switch the windows. 1 second, I'm just doing that now. Now, what was, and okay, this is not a spectacular game. This is it's gonna amuse you. I think one of Vishy's great strengths in this rapid play tournament was that he knew his limitations. So he's got 2 out of 2. And in round 3, he played against Gabriel Sargsyan from Armenia. And this is how the game went. I'm going to zip through these moves very, very quickly because there's not a lot to write home about. Vishy playing very solidly. You know, he's not experimenting in his openings. He's playing classical chess. This has been seen 1,000 times before, this kind of hanging pawn position. Vishy, this little curl up with rook e8 and bishop back to f8 and g7 is absolutely standard. It secures the king side, blocks out this bishop, and gets this bishop on g7 pointing in the right direction. And here, Vishy offers this trade. Sargsyan took it, and they traded lots more pieces. And here, after 22 moves, they agreed a draw. Now, what's so special about that game? Well, the point is this, that Vishy was not afraid to just play very solidly, and he didn't push things. He knows his limitations. He doesn't demand more from a position that is actually there. So 6 of the 15 games in this Rapid World Championship, 6 of his 15 games were drawn in under 23 moves. Now, you know, a lot of you might be amazed at that. How can you win a tournament drawing fairly quick games? Vishy doesn't push it. You know, he's reached a certain time in life when he's very experienced and he knows not to push things too hard. And he picked off, I'm not going to say weaker opponents, but when he got a nice position, then he pushed it. But if his opponent played solidly, then he was content to play solidly as well. Very interesting. Yeah, he played really very safely, but very correctly. There's nothing wrong with that, so long as you win the games where you stand better, where you have chances to win. Okay, so that's that one dealt with. Let's move to round 4, which was, from memory, round 4 was very nice. Yeah, this was against a certain Anton Demchenko from Russia. I don't know who he is. I think he's a young guy, actually. Yeah. Let me show you this one. Just bear with me while I switch. This was a very interesting game. Here we go. Vishy with the white pieces. So he's sticking to what he knows best. You know, Carlsen likes to chop and change his openings, But Vishy, he's comfortable with what he knows. So he's playing e4, he's playing main lines. I mean, it's Sicilian and it's a classical, so this is a really well-known variation. This is, you could say, the main line, the old main line anyway. And okay, pretty standard position. And well, Vishy likes this position very much. Playing f5, he would like to play the knight into f4 to put some pressure here. You know, possibly bishop c4, or if that's not possible, then g3 and bishop h3 to hit this guy. So therefore, black really has to close with e5, but the knight, crucially, the knight does not have access to the d5 square. Satoshi Ghosh correctly names the opening as a Richter Rauser. Indeed. So it's important that this knight has been pushed away from d5. Now, the way Vishy plays this, I think, is, well, quite original. I mean, in this position, I would play knight c1 very quickly. This looks like a normal move. The knight certainly can't be bad on c1 to protect the king, and perhaps we might be able to play bishop c4 here. This is really interesting. He just played rook g1. And this is a slightly unusual way to play the position, because generally you don't, I mean, he's looking to push with g4. Generally, you don't want to break up the pawns in this way. I suppose the plus side is that suddenly black has to be very careful about his king, as the position opens on the king side. So let's see how the game went. Queen b6. Again, I would think knight c1, but Vishy just pushed with g4. And, you know, maybe black should try something like this, but queen d5 is a very annoying move, actually. Looking at this here. And, you know, this knight will move probably to c1, opening up the bishop. And potentially swinging around here as well. And white certainly has a very pleasant initiative there. And I think in rapid play chess, I think this is a very difficult position to control for black. I think objectively, I'm not convinced about this, because positionally it looks a bit funny to give, you know, the rook something to do on the H file. Go back. Black played queen f2, trying to stir things up, but, well, Vishy just protects the knight. Knight back, black wants to free the bishop, but take the queen. Again, I would play the knight to c1. Maybe I'm just a chicken, but it feels, it's not just a defensive move, but it feels correct to have the option to play the knight to b3, and then, you know, one day it might bounce in here, or possibly back to d2 and into c4. But Vishy went the other way. He played knight g3. That knight came to d2. Of course, there was method in Vishy's madness. You know, he reorganizes his forces very well indeed, and, you know, he wants this knight to come into h5. Rawand Hamid asks, Danny, what's your thoughts on Tard Steel? At the moment, I have no thoughts on Tard Steel, because I'm looking at Anand's game against Demchenko. Bishop c4. Yep. Vishy gets his bishop to this crucial diagonal, and now this feels very dangerous. In fact, black was probably still okay here if he'd played knight a5 and then bishop f8. And this bishop can come around to h6. And this is not so clear, but in the game it went bishop f8 straight away. And this is awkward. Queen d4 should have been played, but this is the game. And now knight f6. And after this, I think you can see what's going to happen. Sachin Saju asks, whose king is safe here? Well, it's not black's, is it? And that was the end of the game. We go back. King takes can be met by queen h4. That's rather awkward. So I think effectively, probably this idea with rook g1 and g4 is, I'm not convinced it's completely sound, but Anand understands how to create problems for his opponent. And I think it's a very difficult position to control. Okay, let's move on. Let me see. Let's go to the next game. Monlove says, Vishy's best chess legacy is this. He inspired all the super strong young Indian players coming through in waves. Absolutely. Yeah, this is the Vishy boom in action. Rounds, okay, after that victory, so Vishy had 3.5 out of 4, and then he drew the next 2 games. Nothing special. Oh, this is a good game. Let me just get this on the board. I'm going to go through these moves quite quickly. It's a long game, so just bear with me, folks. Right, get this on the board. Here we go. Luke McShane from England against Anand. McShane with white. If you don't mind, I'm going to go through these moves very quickly. I mean, in this kind of position, it's very difficult for white to achieve an advantage if he doesn't get some kind of early breakthrough. And Anand manages to consolidate his space advantage here. Knight c7 is a very good move. So that protects this pawn and opens up this diagonal and basically ensures that black keeps his space advantage here. You can see, you know, this pawn on c5 claims more space. I mean, this is a very, very instructive. I mean, in the sense, this is a kind of reversed King's Indian, and this shows you everything that is wrong with the King's Indian. You can see that basically white is left with very little space. This is the problem with the King's Indian if it goes wrong, obviously with colors reversed. Okay, white is trying to break free, but actually Vishy has it under control. Excellent move, knight d5. So these pieces stand very well. And here comes the crunch moment. What would you play, folks? Black to play. It's all gone very quiet. Very quiet indeed. Boyan Maximovich says knight c3. Yeah, we won't linger too long on this one. Knight c3 is just a good move. In some positions, 2 minor pieces can be better than a rook and pawns, but here the rook and 2 pawns are definitely stronger because these minor pieces really aren't doing very much. This is the problem. And to some extent, white's king is exposed. But the way Anand dealt with his position is very instructive. You'll see how he's coordinating his forces really beautifully. And major pieces work best when they're protecting each other. So didn't try to hang on to one of his extra pawns, and Anand plays this part of the game really, really well. Minor pieces need outposts. So if this knight could somehow anchor itself on a square around here, white would be okay, but you can see there are no pawns that could possibly support that knight. This is white's problem. If you could magically put a pawn here and this knight into c4, then white would be fine. But here, no. You can see there's basically very little connection between the king side and the queen side. This knight is needed to support white's king. But something funny goes on around here, actually. So Anand is making excellent progress. The rook and the queen hit the knight. The queen is obviously tied to defense. And here, why didn't Anand just take on a2? This is quite funny. I mean, maybe it's quite possible he was really, really short of time. And maybe he just didn't have time to analyze the checks. But actually, after playing queen b1 check here, let's see, king here, in fact, there are no more checks. But this is typical Anand. He didn't push things. He played h5, and that just means that he can put his king back very, very safely. So again, I think Vishy has always played in this way to a certain extent, but I think these kind of characteristics, this kind of safety first, his tendency is more exaggerated in his old age. But it's still not a bad way to play. So suddenly you can see McShane manages to save this pawn, and things are not so simple. And this bishop finds an anchor on the other side of the board. This is the problem. Anand should have just taken that pawn on a2. And although white is tied up, it's very difficult for black to make progress. But Anand understands that still he has control. So although, he compromised with these moves and putting the king back here, the odds are still very much in his favor that somehow his opponent is going to make a blunder. Back to play, what would you do? Omkar Chakradeo, he could simply take on a2. There was no need to play a3. But anyway, we've moved on. Black to play. It is boom time. Boom! And that was that. There we go. Vishy understands how to keep control, and he knows in these kind of positions that if you keep control, nasty things can happen to your opponent. So for those joining late, it's Vishy time. We're looking at Vishy Anand's games. You can see on my t-shirt, it's a very clean t-shirt, unlike most of my other t-shirts, because it's first time I've ever worn it. Okay, let me see. I had a question. Rawand Hamid was asking me some time ago about the Tata Steel tournament. Yeah, really exciting. It starts, round one is on Saturday. I'm really looking forward to it. 14 players, 13 round all play all. Magnus is playing, and then we've got 5 of the candidates. So we've got Kramnik, Karyakin, Caruana, So, and Mamedyarov. So they will offer the chief threat to Magnus. We've got Peter Svidler, just won the Russian Championship for the 8th time. We've got Ho Ifan. We've got Adiban Bhaskaran, who played very well last year. Garwin Jones from England. That's good to see. Who else we got? Matlakov, Maxim Matlakov, European individual champion. And who else? Anish Giri, don't forget him. And who else? Well, that's enough to be going on with. So it's a tremendous tournament. You know, it's a very colourful field, which is excellent. So yeah, starts on Saturday, and watch out for my game of the day, which will be appearing on the channel every day after. Guest informs, is Garwin English, not Welsh? He is English, yes. Garwin Jones is English. He was born in England and he plays for England. There we are. Wei Yi is playing. Yes, thank you, Tim C. Yeah, Wei Yi is playing. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave is not playing, but Wei Yi, from 18-year-old Chinese prodigy, is playing. So that's very interesting. Of course, he's an incredible talent and he wins some amazing games, but he's yet to make that really big breakthrough in the top tournament. So who knows? It's going to come one day. One Love asks, we know about Howell and Jones, but who are the younger English players that could break through in a few years' time? To be honest, there's no one really on the horizon in England who is threatening to make a really big breakthrough from a younger generation. Krishna Jha asks, what's Vishy playing next? That's the one player I've missed out. Vishy is playing in Vaikonce. There we are. He's won Vaikonce on 5 occasions. That's a record equal with Magnus Carlsen. So there we go. That's another record that Vishy has. Aki Pitkayo says, Garwin the Dragon expert. Exactly. Garwin is an expert in the Dragon. But, I mean, just generally, he's a really dangerous attacking player. So, you know, that's he's rated quite a bit below some of the other players. Nevertheless, he's there on merit because he won the B tournament last year, and he's a very dangerous attacking player. You know, he loves playing with the initiative. Let me show you one more game before I'm running out of time. Let me just switch boards again. Just bear with me while I sort out the windows. What would be interesting to see? Oh, of course. I've got to show you Vishy's game against Magnus. So hang on a second. This was crucial for the tournament. So this was played in round 9. And Carlsen was playing with white. Go to Nimzo. Now, if white wants to play main lines, then of course he can play knight f3, and then c5 and so on. But Carlsen plays a3, which I don't think it's a brilliant variation. I think, you know, the pawn, it's a bit of a waste of time to play a3. It's a very old variation. And bishop a2 is the most popular move here, but bishop e2 is super solid. So basically, Carlsen is just getting his pieces out. You know, he's not playing for a big advantage. He just wants to get a position on the board. So we're reaching, or could reach, typical kind of hanging pawns position. Queen b3 for me was a bit of a surprise because it allows Vishy to play a nice move here. I mean, knight d2 has been played before, and this is more logical because it prevents this move, knight g4. And then, you know, maybe you play bishop f3 afterwards to counter this bishop. Or maybe just a move like rook e1 and then bishop f1. This is possible. But the reason I'm kind of, slightly suspicious of queen b3 is because of Vishy's move knight g4. Excellent move. Typical shot in these kind of positions. Black threatens, bishop takes knight, and queen takes pawn. So white is forced to play g3, which of course slightly weakens these light squares. Now, this is not fatal in any way, but I think in a rapid play game, it just makes it difficult for white to control the position. Objectively, white is absolutely fine, but still, it becomes a little bit tricky. I mean, maybe knight g2 is better here, but anyway, d5. After this, Anand starts to get some initiative. I mean, there are lots of moves here. But it feels as though Vishy has achieved quite a lot in this game already with this knight coming to a nice square. I think, you know, Vishy would have been very, very happy with this. Two beautiful knights, one looking at these squares, you know, possible squares to jump into, the other, the knight blockading beautifully on d6. Having said that, white should still be okay. And there's another diagonal here. So what Magnus is trying to do is, for example, if f6 blocking the diagonal, then this knight could throw itself in. And, well, obviously, white has achieved quite a lot by that. So Anand played f5. Both sides have to be careful here. You know, there are weaknesses to white's king. I mean, in a sense, you could, looking at this position here, white is well covered. But it goes badly wrong. Let's have a look what happens. I think Vishy defends very well here because, you know, he's under a lot of pressure. And Magnus is the exchange down. But, you know, what a beautiful knight here. What a fantastic bishop on b2. But knight c8 is an excellent move. Vishy is very, very cool in defense, it's got to be said. And that's an excellent move. After something like knight takes rook, well, this endgame, I would say, is more comfortable for black, just because of, you know, this looks like a strong passed pawn, protected passed pawn. So instead of that, Carlsen takes on b5. And suddenly this is rather unclear. In fact, white is probably still okay if he comes back, but knight c5 was a mistake. And who's the first to get on the diagonal? It is the V-man. Queen e4 and mate threatened. Yeah, it's all over basically. In this position, if king f1, let's just see how it plays out. We've got a big fat check on e4, and black remains a piece up. So sorry to zip through that one very quickly, but we're approaching the end of the show. So Anand ended up, well, cruising into first place, actually. He was very cool in the last round. when he just agreed a draw against Boo very quickly. Boo was playing with white, played something solid, and Anand just said, okay, I'm going to agree a draw, and if Carlsen manages to win, then he deserves the title. Very laid back, very rational attitude, you know, and didn't push it. You know, he didn't go all out for the win with black in the last round. So, you know, he conserved his energy. And in the end, he was proved absolutely right when, although there was a tie for first, Vishy was very relaxed when he went into the tie-break playoff. He'd had a lot of time to relax. And he crushed Fedoseev. So his tactics of playing very economically with these short draws and then only pressing in certain positions worked out beautifully. Let me see. Vaibhav Rajput asks, Danny, what do you think about the Carlsen-Nyarkov controversy? It's all been said, I'm afraid. I mean, it's just a joke that Anakiev claimed a win. You know, it's ridiculous. Sachin Saju asks, do you think Anand taking no risk is a weakness? Clearly, it worked out. These tactics worked out beautifully in the Rapid World Championship. Sometimes he appears to play overcautiously in some tournaments. In the Rapids, it worked out extremely well. You know, I would sometimes as a strength, sometimes as a weakness. That's just how he is, basically. But I think it's the way that works for him best. I think that's the important thing. He understands himself very, very well, and he knows his limitations. So I don't think you can describe this as a weakness. I think Vishy understands how to get the best out of his 48-year-old brain, basically, and 48-year-old body. You know, younger players have a massive advantage. Sashi247 asks, did your own style change with age, DK? Yeah, it did. I got worse. Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks everyone for joining me, and it's been fun. Maybe I'll keep the t-shirt, and we'll have another Vishy special someday. He seems to still be smiling even at the end of this session. So there we go. Thanks for joining me, everyone, and watch out for my game of the days from Vikonsay starting on Saturday. Thanks, everyone. Bye now.